It's a scripture that when I first heard it and read it, I just said, oh boy, that's cold-blooded. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. It didn't have any compassion in it. He that hath shall get, and he that hath not, even that he has, shall be taken away. Oh my God. You saying it? He that hath, the person who hath, they will get, and the person who don't have, even that little bit they have, shall be taken away. That doesn't seem right. But there's a question. He that hath what? Vision. People without vision perish. Ambition, drive, a willingness to work, stubbornness, perseverance, faith that roars so loudly it doesn't give you an opportunity to hear the doubts that you have within yourself. You have those qualities, you will get. You have those qualities, you restore everything you lost and more. You have those qualities, angels will make room for you. Come. Let's intervene here because he won't quit. She won't stop. We've done everything and they won't stop. Come, we got to intervene now. And then let's go find a wimp, somebody who's stopped, somebody who's allowing themselves to be consumed by fear. They're weak. Yeah, because God has not given them a spirit of fear, but of power. They ain't got no power. They're consumed in fear. They can't even think straight. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of a sound mind. This place where you are, where I am, this place, we've been picked out to be picked on. This place, we are more than conquerors. This place is a testimony, no testimony. This place, no guts, no glory. This place, faith not tested can't be trusted. This faith will find a way. Yeah. We need to know that. We need to saturate ourselves with words that will empower us right now. Our children are watching. Our children are not okay. There's an article, Google it. Our kids are not okay. The suicide rate among children, teenagers, and younger, soaring because they're watching us. See, how we live our lives, Jim Rohn said this, how we live our lives, it can be a warning or an example. Did you hear me? How we live our lives, our children are watching. It will be a warning or an example. A warning of what not to do or an example of what to do when tragedy and interruptions and crises show up. Therefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, that having done all to stand. This is our time to stand. This is our time to be actively engaged in this thing called life. Our children are watching us. There are generations yet unborn that are depending on us. There are people who gave their lives, like a John Lewis said, create some good trouble. It's our time. It's our time. You have something special. God is on your side. If God is for you, who can be against you? You got a winning team. I'm looking for, and I'm on a mission for people who can hear me. If at some point in time when you were a little kid or a grown person, you're going through some stuff and you heard my voice. And the reason you heard it, because what's in me is also in you. And the reason you responded and came out of the darkness into the light, because there's a calling on you to do the same thing. You and I are cut from the same cloth. You're branches of the same tree. If my message and my method and my approach resonates with you, I'm not talking about my hairstyle. My kid didn't play hairstyle and I'm kid, no. I'm talking about my message. And you have a message in you. You have a story in you. You would like to help people, the millions of people who need to hear a multitude of voices. I want you to put voice in the comment section. Put voice in the comment section. And allow us to introduce you to the Power Voice system that teaches you how to tell your story, that teaches you how to create an experience with your voice and your story, to transform people individually and collectively. Allow me to mentor, to coach you, to bring out the greatness in yourself and to bring out the greatness in others. If that's your calling, I love to tell you, and I will always remind you, a job is what you get paid for. A calling is what you're made for. If it's your calling, put voice in the comment section. If you can hear me in your heart, I'm not challenging your ability to hear with your ears, because you wouldn't still be here with me. I don't have any prints translating my words. So if you're still here, the only reason you're listening, because what's in me, it's in you. You and I are cut from the same cloth. We are branches of the same tree. It's time to make a decision. Put voice in the comment section. We don't know how much time we have left, do we? Michael Jackson said, this is it. And it was. Okay. Put voice in the comment section. Live each day as it were your last. Because what we learned from the coronavirus, one day it will be. Toby Gatson, we graduated together at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami, 1963. Wow. Classmate had COVID-19 and he kicked COVID's butt. Toby, I'm so happy for you, brother. So happy. Prayed hard for you, but you've always been a fighter since we were in high school. Boy, I tell you, you and Larry Littles, who played for the Miami Dolphins, boy, we went to school. We would miss school because we were characters. We were always clowning. We always wanted to know, what will we do next? We came to see each other for cafeteria and physical education. Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy, that's back in the day. I hear young people today, these millennials, talking about back in the day. They don't know anything about back in the day. I got T-shirts older than them. But at 75, my goal is to finish strong. At 75, my goal is to train the best speakers on the planet. At 75, my goal is to find people who are hungry to make an impact with their lives, who are hungry to learn how to use and access their power voice, who are hungry to live a life that will outlive them. Yeah, you forget your years will forget you. And I want to leave this with you. As you look at your goals, be stubborn about your goals. Be stubborn. Don't give up on your goals. You will fail your way to success. Don't give up on your goal. Know your vitamin, as Suzanne de Pass would say. Don't give up on your goal. Be stubborn about your goals. Be flexible and versatile. Ask for help. A lot of people won't do that because of ego edging God out, because a lot of people, as a result of pride cometh before a fall. Ask for help. Not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. You don't have to figure it out. Get started. Do what you can with what you have, and God will do what you can.
Les Brown is in the house, the School of Greatness, my friend, who has been around for 75 years young. He told me just before we got on here, you've been fighting cancer for 27 years. You've been widely known as one of the most inspirational, motivational speakers in the world, helping Fortune 500 companies to small business owners to everyone in between really tap into their greatness. You're an inspiration to myself and so many people. And you've got a book called You've Got to Be Hungry that's out right now that is doing incredibly well, and it's 20 years in the making. And I'm curious, we've been talking just before this, which we'll add in the interview, about racial injustice, which you've been a big proponent of speaking out against for many years, in your time working in Ohio, in government, in your time working in radio, as a speaker, all these different areas of your life. But you've just been through a lot personally of challenges in your life. From, we have a similar story of growing up dyslexic, with learning disabilities, with challenges in school. I remember the story you shared in our last interview in 2017 about teachers just calling you dumb and things like this. I feel very connected to that story because of my experiences in school. And yet you've overcome so many challenges in your 75 young years. Can you share the biggest challenge you've had to overcome?
The biggest challenge I had to overcome, and it's a continuous challenge, is allowing myself to see myself beyond my circumstances and mental conditioning, to live out of my imagination rather than my history. When you are raised in a culture that constantly demean you, marginalize you, and stifle your potential to move forward. I remember reading a quote by a guy named Richard Wright, who said, "The impulse to dream has been slowly beaten out of me through the experiences of life." So just imagine in 1963, when I graduated from high school. Now that's a long time ago. my grandson said, "Grandpa, how old are you?" And I said, 75. He said, "You are old." In 1963, here's some of the statistics were in 1963, that if you're an African American, you're the last hire and the first fire. If you're an African American, that a white college trained Black person has less of a chance of getting a job than a white high school dropout. That's in 1963. Wow. According to the Federal Reserve, that still exists. So just imagine when an African American graduates from college and in debt, that a white high school dropout today will earn more money, 3 times more money than that Black college graduate. 3 times more. All right. Why? Because of his paint job. I'll never forget, Louis, I saw an interview with Larry King, and this white supremacist was being interviewed. And he said, "Tell me, why do you hate Black people?" He said, "Because they're Black." And he said, "And I'm white." So Larry said, "What did you have to do with that?" And this white supremacist said, "What?" He said, "What did you have to do with your being born white?" And he didn't have an answer. He just got quiet. And Larry, in that question, that strategic question, it created an aha moment, hopefully, for that young man. I saw this video yesterday. This lady said, "I've got grandchildren. I hate y'all, and I'm teaching my grandchildren to hate you too."
Wow.
Yes. And I'll never forget when I was on a bus coming back from Miami Beach with my mother, and they had signs on Miami Beach that said, "Jews, dogs, and coloreds not allowed." And so I asked my mother, I said, "Mama, why do they hate us so much?" And she said, "Leslie, I don't know, but don't you ever be like them. Don't you ever be like them. God is love, and he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in them. You love people regardless of how they treat you." That grabbed me, because when she could have very easily, because of experiences that she'd had, it taught me to be hateful, because hatred is taught. It's people not born with that. And a little boy asked me, a second grader, "What do you mean by you got to be hungry?" I said, "The greatness within to win." I said, when the average person start out in life, they don't realize the odds are stacked against them. And you have got to call on everything in you to get ahead. I said, "How old are you?" He said, 7. I said, "When I was 5 years old, I was downtown Miami, and it was like 95 degrees. And I ran to a water fountain. I was with my mother. The neighbor said, 'Mamie, we can watch the other 6, but you're going to have to take Leslie with you because he's a little touched in the head.'" So they didn't want to keep me. So I let my mother's dress go. We went downtown with her. We would hold her dress because she would walk real fast. And I ran up to this water fountain, Louis, and I started drinking water from it. And my mother said, "Don't you ever do that again." Grabbed me by the neck. And I talk about this in the book. And she started punching me and in the face and the head. And I was shocked. I said, "Mama." She had this crazed look in her eyes. I said, "It's me. It's me, Mama." And all of a sudden, a white police officer came by, and he said, "Okay," he had a billy club in his hand, "you can stop beating that little boy now. I won't have to beat him." And he looked at me as I was crying and just laughed.
Wow.
As he walked away. And my mother, she grabbed me, and I was crying, and she said, "Leslie, I'm so sorry." But when I saw the redness in his face and how he had his billy club out and he was coming to beat you with it, she said, "I had to do something to distract him." She said, "Because had he hit you with that billy club, he would have had to kill me. And I'd left you and your brothers and sisters to fend for yourselves. You have no relatives." And at that moment, 5, I knew that there was 2 worlds. I was in a world where I was limited, where what water fountain I could drink from. When we got on the bus, there would be seats up front, and there would be a yellow line, and there were standing room in the back where where Black people were seated. And Mama would say, keep moving. I said, Mama, there are seats up here. Did you hear me say, keep moving, keep moving? So when you are in that kind of environment where you are judged based upon nothing other than the color of your skin, that's very humiliating. I had another experience that that really tilted the scale for me being the person that I am. And because I love my mother, I'm a mama's boy. I always say this is the Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. and so I was determined that I was going to create a world that my mother could live in and not be humiliated and to not be held back, and a better life than she had lived in Stewart, Florida, and what I experienced coming up in Miami, being African American. For so many things, it was just a part of the culture, things that exist now. But to believe and understand that it's going on now, it's surprising. But what is heartwarming is the broad scale support. Something that Benjamin Franklin said. He said, change will never come about until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are.
Wow.
Okay. And so you have white people who are unaffected by this, but they're outraged. They're saying, hey, this is not right. And they're putting themselves in harm's way. I saw one white lady, they shot her with rubber bullets and she lost her eye. She's permanently blind in one eye. And so there have been places where the white turnout and other groups are very strong, of people out of a sense of humanity saying this is not America. And it's been sustained because the people can see it. And to see George Floyd have his life taken away. The guy who did that, one of the guys who was in right there near him, where he could have said to the cop that was on George Floyd, come on, man, come on. He said he can't breathe. Come on, it's four of us. He's handcuffed. He can't get away from us. Come on, get your knee off his neck. He didn't do this. So this lady saw one of the guys in the grocery store who was charged with complicity. And she said, do you have any regrets? He said, no.
Wow.
No. So therefore, he thought it was okay to take this guy's life for a $20 counterfeit bill that they found not to be counterfeit. So to lose your life, and someone say, when you are asked, do you have any regrets? And you say, no. Man, let me tell you something, that's heavy. That says a lot.
Yeah. Do you feel like we haven't really progressed that much at all? Or is there progress?
No, I think there's been great progress. There's no question about that. No question. You just have people who, this is for the first time under this leadership that we have, that feel comfortable coming out. So there are people that this level of hatred has been instilled and passed on generation after generation after generation. What makes it seem so pervasive and so dominant has been the exposure. It's never been exposed like this. The internet. That's why North Korea and various dictatorships don't allow media to have the right to expose things, the inequities and the unlawful behavior in their country, including our country. Had it not been for the internet, we would not know about this, because the television executives had a meeting after the Rodney King riots and say, when something like this happens again, we will not show it. Wow. We will just report it. Okay, but the internet, because of the telephones, now these cops have been getting away with murder. They can't just get away with it. Although even when they go to court, 93.9% get off, never go to court. And of those who are indicted, maybe around 2% are sentenced and found guilty, because the judge and the prosecuting attorney is on the side of that officer. So
well, I feel like they can always make a case, I guess, for, well, he was attacking me and this is in the law and how we can defend ourselves as police, right?
When they asked the cops, why did you beat this guy that I said, this man served our country in Vietnam. He should not be treated like that. He was holding a baby. And they said he was fighting with one hand. Okay, come on. When I was on the air, and this is in the 80s, I editorialized against police brutality and deadly use of force. They said he had a threatening stance. So I shot him. One guy I'll never forget. He was in a car, and police approached the car, and they shot him 5 times. And they said he held his hand up, even though he didn't see a gun, but he moved his finger, and he thought that he had a gun, and so they killed him, and they got off with it. So they come up with any type of flimsy excuse. I thought my life was in danger. Like the guy here in Atlanta was shot 5 times in the back, and they said they thought he was going to turn around and shoot with a taser. And the truth of the matter is that cop was mad because his taser was taken away from him. So he pumped 5 bullets in him. So no, there will not be a trial here. This is taking place now. And so that level of madness and lack of value for human life, it's deep in the culture. But
how did you personally? Yeah, and how did you personally overcome so much from racism as a young child when your mother essentially had to beat the crap out of you in order to defend you from the police beating you up even more, to not being able to sit anywhere on the bus that you wanted to go on, to just having the challenges at school, to your career? How did you personally learn the skills to overcome so many challenges in the world, in your internal mind and world, and in life?
The title of the book, You've Got to Be Hungry, the greatness within to win. Greatness comes out of adversity. And the defining moment for me was when my mother was working for a lady named Miss Harris. I was responsible for cleaning some spots off the floor. My mother was called by Miss Harris. She said, Mamie, I want you to go to another room and find a hat that I'm looking for, the one I had 3 Sundays ago. And when my mother went in that room, I heard a slapping sound. I heard my mother clapping her hands. And I said, Mama, I was curious. I said, why are you clapping your hands? She said, don't you worry, Leslie. You just keep on doing what you're doing and get those spots up off the floor. Then she came out of the room and she said, Miss Harris, I don't see it in there. So she said, well, go in this other room. And Mama went in the other room, and sure enough, she started clapping her hands again. And I said, Mama. She said, what? She was aggravated now. I said, why are you clapping your hands? She said, didn't I tell you to do what you're supposed to do? And at that moment, Miss Harris came over and she stood over me. She said, I can tell you why she's clapping her hands. And I stood up and I looked in the eyes. Now, during this time, as a Black person, you were not allowed to look white people in the eyes. You should always look down, okay? Or you could be arrested or beaten. So I looked her in the eyes, and she said, the reason that I have your mother clapping her hands, when I have colored people working for me and I can't see them when they go in another room, I make them clap their hands to make sure they're not stealing.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, ma'am, I said, Miss Harris, let me tell you something. My mother does not steal. When she talk about you and your family, she say, I work for Miss Harris, and she talk about our children, and she knows all your children's names and their birthday. My mother's an honest person. She'll never steal from you or anybody. And she was so shocked that she just looked at me and she just turned and walked out of the room. And when I got back down on that floor, Lewis, and started scrubbing that floor, I said, nobody will never make my mother clap her hands again, because they think that will be stealing. I remember going back on the bus and I was quiet. And she said, Leslie, why are you so quiet? I said, because I'm not a man. I want to be a man. She said, you'll be a man soon enough. You're 10 years old. How long before I become a man? 8 years. I want to become a man now. She said, why? I said, if I was a man now, Mama, I can buy groceries for us. Listen, Mama, and we won't have to wait till the people you work for eat and then give us leftovers. If I was a man now, I would not have to wait until somebody's worn clothes for a year and we wear their hand-me-down clothes. And if I was a man now, nobody will ever make you clap your hands because they think that you're stealing. She said, Miss Harris told you that, didn't she? I said, yes, ma'am. That's why I want to be a man now. And she just got quiet. She said, Leslie, don't worry about it. Just be a good boy. Be a good boy. And I said, I will, Mama. I'm going to take care of you. You'll never have to work again when I turn 18. When I turned 18, I took care of my mother until she passed at 89. She never paid another bill. I worked. Yeah, that tipped the scales.
That experience, that moment.
Yes. That to make her, she was such a wonderful person, only had a 3rd grade education. And I always say I'm on programs, I said, because of 2 women. One gave me life, the other one gave me love. God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. So she was quite a woman. Yes, she was. I'm a mama's boy, as you can detect.
Yeah.
Les Brown is an African-American man. He's a Black man. And so his experience over 75 years of being in this country is very valuable. And a lot of these things that have just floated to the surface more recently for the rest of society, you've been living for most of your life. And so I'm just curious as to, first, what do you think as you're seeing what's playing out on television right now, the conversation that's happening in the world today? Just what are your thoughts when you see them?
It is, I find it fascinating. Here I am, 75. I was 5 years old downtown in Miami with my mother. It was very hot and it's around 90 degrees. And I saw these kids playing, these white kids, and one drinking from a water fountain. I let my mother's hand go and I ran to the water fountain and I started drinking from it. And my mother grabbed me by the neck and she threw me down on the ground and she started punching me with her fist. She had never done that before. And my face and my head, and I was screaming. She had a crazy look in her eyes. I said, Mama, it's me, Mama, it's me. And then all of a sudden, a white cop came over and he had a nightstick and he kept on hitting it in his hand. He said, okay, that's enough. You beat that little nigger boy enough. Now he's learned his lesson. He won't do that again. And he walked away and he just started laughing as he looked at me. My nose was busted and my eyes were swollen. And she said, as he walked away, Leslie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, son. I said, Mama, why did you beat me like that? She said, you can't drink from that water fountain. I said, those white kids, they were there. Leslie, listen, you can't drink from that water fountain. It's for whites only. And when I saw that white policeman coming over towards you with his nightstick, had he hit you with that nightstick, he would have had to kill me. And I would have left you and your brothers and sisters to fend for yourself. I'm so sorry, son. I'm so sorry. I said, Mama, it didn't hurt that bad. She said, I know, I never wanted to hit any of my children like that. But I had to do something to distract him. And that was the birth of hunger in me. Because on that day, I realized something that Martin Seligman said in the book called Learn to Optimism. He said between the ages of 0 and 5, that we learn what's available to us and what's not available to us. And there are places that I couldn't go. I used to see signs on Miami Beach that said Jews, dogs, and colors not allowed. I remember being on the bus and seats were available front and we would be packed in the back. And I remember stopping and saying, Mama, there's seats up here. Leslie, keep moving. Mama, there's seats here. There are empty seats here. Did you hear me? Keep moving, boy. Past that yellow line. And so when I look at now, here's the positive stuff. Benjamin Franklin said that until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are affected, things will never change. For the first time, we have large numbers of white people and people from all walks of life saying, whoa, this is wrong. This is wrong. Evil prevails when good men and women do nothing, and good men and women from all walks of life have gotten involved. This is a reckoning. And it's first of all, it's sad to see, but it's heartwarming that there are people who do care. You care. I always tell speakers, I train speakers at this point, who you are behind the words are far more important than the words that you speak. When I train speakers, I first work with the messenger and then the message. And so that evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. There are a lot of good men and women who've put themselves in harm's way, who've said, these are human beings and their lives matter. And it's one thing if we had a protest saying Black lives are better. They're not saying that. We're saying Black lives matter. I mean, when cops, they know they have absolute power. They're judge, jury, and executioner. Over 95% never go to court. And those who go, they are called innocent. The prosecuting attorney's on their side, the judge, the jury, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But I do believe in our lifetime, at some point in time, that we are going to garner the courage and the persistence and the commitment to eradicate what we're dealing with, because cultures of terrorism, people who are supposed to provide and protect, who are killing and terrorizing, these cultures are created by people and they can be changed by people. And the secret is for us to maintain commitment through all the frustrations, through all the disappointments, through all the things and people who infiltrate the movement and create distractions to try and discourage us and sabotage it. I believe that we live in the greatest country in the world. And when I wake up in the morning, man, I say all things work together for good for those who love God and for those who are called according to his purpose. And I do believe that justice will prevail.
You know, both of you are talking about something that is so vitally important, and that is the whole idea of greatness. And let's talk about the process of greatness. So what hurdles did you overcome to get where you are today? What can I ask that again? What hurdles did you overcome to get where you are today? And we're talking about the process of greatness.
The biggest hurdle was the environment. To look around the community where I was born and raised and to have a vision of something beyond there. And not having other children in my age category that had that kind of vision and that kind of dream, wanting to travel and see the world. That's something that I was inspired when I looked at television and I saw I Love Lucy and the Jackie Gleason show and all those television programs. I wanted to travel around the world and see things, which I'm doing now, which I expose my kids to, and they travel. Only 15% of the population ever travel globally. But to remind myself that this is not my rightful place, that I'm not supposed to be poor, and that I'm going to buy my mother a home and I'm going to get her out of here. A man. My mother raised us. She said, a man provides and protects. I'm old school. I don't believe that a woman should work and pay bills. A man should provide and protect. If she wants to work, that's good. But whatever money you earn, you keep that for yourself. But a man pays the bills. That's the era that I came up in, and provide and protect his family. And so when I turned 18, I sat my mother down. I said, you never have to work again. And I took care of her until she was 89 when she made her transition. And so having the mindset that I'm more than a conqueror, not just in lip service, but in how I live my life, that I can control my own personal economy. I can develop the skill set that will allow me to create multiple streams of income and to be my own boss. I will never forget when I quit a job and everybody asked on the job, where are you going? I said, I have no idea, but I'm going away from here. You know, sometimes you have to leap and grow your wings on the way down.
I say, give yourself a going away party.
Yes, that's right. I did that for a CBS station in LA. I had a big luncheon for them. And they said, what's the occasion? I said, I'm going in another direction. You said, you are kidding. You earning over 6 figures for 3 hours on the air. Why are you leaving? I said, I told you I wanted to do the radio program at home. You said, you want to keep me here and have me under your thumb. I said, I'm not a under your thumb kind of dude. I'm taking myself away from here so I can control my own future. I don't want to give you that kind of power over me.
Wow, taking back your personal power.
Yes, absolutely. You want to be able to develop yourself so you have walk away money. So that you can walk away. If the environment does not suit you, you can walk away. If you're not earning enough, you can walk away because you know that you can create it again, that you know that you have the ability. You've been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, including your finances, to create a life that you love and that you're excited about. Helen Keller said life is either a daring adventure or it's boring. And so I live an exciting life. It's great to be me.
Yeah. I love that. You know, move away from people that further entrench you into possibility blindness. Move away from a culture and people, and then take back your personal power. I mean, that's so practical. If you've given it away, that means that you have the power to take it back. Take it back and give yourself permission to succeed.
The kind of conversation we're having right now,
Yeah.
people don't get this often.
They don't?
No, you have always marched to the beat of a different drummer. Henry David Thoreau said, if a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps he's listening to the beat of a different drummer. Let him march to the music that he hears, however measured or far apart. You march to the beat of a different drummer. And that's why, as a leader, you impact and you influence people because you inspire them through your example to raise the bar on themselves.
Yes, that's really, really good. That's really, really good. I want to throw out another question. What hurdles will the average person have to overcome?
Well, I think that the hurdles that the average person will have to overcome and the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome is one and the same. And that is to be coachable. Yes, I know. You're shocked right now.
I am shocked.
You're shocked right now. You know,
the
world is filled with know-it-alls who accomplish very little. and the toughest thing that it is, and I understand it,